What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and it's a good win, good result. 2-0 is a good way to set us up for the game this weekend. So let's talk about it. Before I get into that, though, if you're having to tune in and wondering where are my TV show reviews, it's been a hell of a week. A lot of stuff going on, just personal stuff. So I haven't been busy, but I just haven't been in the mood to watch any sort of television. Obviously I want to get caught up, but I just have not been up to it because there's just been so much stuff going on. So I do apologize, and as soon as I'm ready, I'm gonna get back into it. I'm gonna get caught up as fast as possible. But for now, let's talk about this game. So, game against Trinidad and Tobago, not an easy win by any means. It looks easier on paper. Obviously, it's gonna be easier than Mexico, but we need to win. We have to win. It's a must-win game. They're looking to try to at least take away a point from this because they need something to get themselves back into it. It's always going to be a difficult game. So obviously it was difficult first half. Second half, though, we came out a lot stronger, a lot faster, a lot more movement, and got the win. Tucked it away. So all in all, good performance, but there are some issues going into the game this Sunday. So I'm going to talk about what I think should happen going into the Sunday game against Mexico. But first, I'm going to talk about individual performances. So first with the lineup, not really surprised by anything that I saw. Bruce Arena obviously isn't going to make a whole lot of changes. He's going to stick to what he wants because he's a narcissist, and so anything that he wants out there is going to be his plan. I'm sure we're going to see the exact same lineup against Mexico because he's not going to want to change anything because this is his team and this is his lineup. And I'm not a fan of Bruce Arena, in case you couldn't tell. But anyway, after the game against Venezuela, just we kind of struggled. There were some players that didn't really perform well. And so coming into this game, I was hoping maybe not to see them, but then we did see a few of them, and yeah, they didn't get much better. So individual by individual, start off with Howard in goal. Obviously, got nothing bad to say about him. The only mistake he made tonight was the one where ball got chipped in. Jones makes a run in behind. He did come out a bit too early when he should have probably just stayed in. Let him have the header, make him think that, okay, keeper's probably going to come. So, I don't know, just that he's a little too eager to get out to that one. But honestly, it was more not closing down the cross and losing track of the man running in that caused that. So even though he did make a mistake coming out, I wouldn't have really blamed it on him if it had gone in instead of hitting the crossbar. So, yeah, everything else, though, he played well, had to make some good saves, had to play with his feet quite a few times as well because there was a lot of pressure. So that's about it for him. In the defense, Yedlin had an average game tonight because, I don't know, he hasn't really changed at all. And I saw this against Venezuela as well. He's just very one-dimensional as a player. It feels like he's got to have more in his locker than just, I can run up and down the field. And, attacking, he does well getting into the attack, but he's a fullback. We need him to be a good defender. And one-on-one, he just cannot defend. It's kind of scary. That was his problem. I don't even remember when he first started playing for the national team, but whenever he started a couple years ago, that was the problem he had. He could not defend one-on-one situations. He did well with his pace. He did well to make up for any sort of mistake that he made with that pace. But in a situation like tonight where Jovan Jones was constantly just driving in at him, he doesn't do well there. He gets cut. He can't push him out wide. He's getting beat inside. Just way too many times where that's happening. And honestly, if it weren't for Nagby helping him out a little bit tonight, probably could have gone a lot worse for us. But yeah, as a fullback, I think he should be better defensively. Attacking wise, he does okay though, and so that's the one thing that he does bring that I don't think many other fullbacks could bring in that position. Cameron, the only problem I have with him tonight was actually a bit more of a problem with the midfield. He tends to get pulled into the midfield a bit too much, and I think part of that is he plays center defensive mid for Stoke. But I think the midfield had an issue tonight with that. I think just Bradley by himself wasn't enough to cover the midfield. And so too many times where Trinidad players had a ton of time and space, And so Cameron got caught stepping out into that space because Bradley's not there. So, yeah, I blame that a bit more on having only one defensive mid, but I'll talk about that a bit later. But defensively, he looks solid. He looks ready to go. Obviously, he had the injury problem a little while back. He looks like he's fully fit, though, and hopefully he can continue that into the game on Sunday. Brooks kind of dropped off for me, especially in the last few games, starting from the Mexico-Costa Rica games. He just isn't as smart or as much of a leader as he was a couple years ago. Whenever he was really strong and really leading the back line, with his challenges, with his decisions, he really looked like he was a leader. Now he looks lost. The Jones chance, all it took was a little run behind as he's watching the ball over here, and there he goes. You shouldn't let that happen. You shouldn't be caught ball watching while the cross is coming in to your man. And just, obviously, there have been a lot of people talking about the fact that he's terrible on set pieces right now. He's getting beat off of headers. He's not doing well in the air. As a defender, you should be doing well in the air. So, yeah, there's a problem with him right now. He just doesn't look as solid as he used to, and he looks, I don't know if it's a bit scared or just, I don't know, he looks a bit lost, is, I guess, the best word to look, or to use for. So, yeah, just hope he can step it up in the Mexico game, but I'm not confident with him to be honest. Villafana at left back, he's the only option we really have right now. I still think Greg Garza should get a chance, but for now, Villafana is the only one that's really been tried and proven at the national level right now. So I guess we'll see where it's going to go from here as far as can he really cement that position or is somebody else going to step in and take it over. As far as I can tell, though, my opinion of him is he's a solid player, but I don't really see much out of him. I don't see a world-class quality player. I just see, he's good. He can have a good game. I think tonight he had a good game, but I think against better opposition, I think he might struggle. He's not very good on one-on-one situations. He's not great at tracking men out wide. There are quite a few times where Trinidad moved the ball out there, and he's very slow to get out, so they have a ton of time to line up the cross. Mexico's going to kill us if that happens. So, yeah, just watching him defend tonight, I'm like, yeah, he's doing okay, but he's got problems, and against a better team, he might really, really struggle. On top of that, offensively, his crosses and passes are very hit and miss. Sometimes he moves very well, he crosses pretty well, and then there are some times where his movement is just really poor. It's not at all, no movement. And then there are some times where his crosses are just to one of the defenders. Nobody's in there, and he's just crossing it in as they are allowed to clear it out, and now he's out of position. So I just think overall he's just an average player. I think we need better in that position. I don't know if we have it right now, but I think either he needs to improve or we need to get somebody else in there who can be that level of quality. Into the midfield, like I said, Bradley, as the lone central defensive mid, didn't do enough to hold down the midfield. Obviously, I've made my opinion of him very well known in my previous reviews. He's not a good player. He really struggles. The funny thing is, passing-wise, his long balls most of the time look great, over the top, diagonal, but then his short passing, like 40%, maybe, on a good day, it's really kind of shocking. Just how many of his passes should be to a player's feet. If he's passing around the back, that's one thing. But honestly, even then, there's sometimes where it should be to their feet, and he's making them make a run now. Or he's putting them into space when they weren't looking to go to space. It's really, really bad. There was one point where he even made Howard go on a run because he put it away from him. Howard's right here, he puts it over there. Now Howard has to go chase it. So, yeah, his passing isn't good. As far as his defensive side of his game, though, he works hard at times, but whenever you're that defensive mid, you need to be working hard all the time, especially if you're alone there. And honestly, I didn't really see that from him. And I think one of the best examples is one of the Trinidad players slipped. And next thing you know, Bradley and Dempsey are both there. He slips, and somehow still gets the ball, even with both of them right on him. And obviously Dempsey has a fault in that too, but how can you not be hungry enough for the ball? This was in the first half too, so this wasn't like we were already a goal up. How can you not be hungry enough to go win the ball, especially if one of the players slips? And that's my biggest problem with Bradley. He just defensively he doesn't look like he wants the ball half the time. Whenever we win a goal, or whenever we went 2 goals up, he looked okay. But before that, when we need him to be that defensive mid, make good defensive challenges, he's not closing down. The Kenwin Jones chance, the cross that came in, he was kind of jogging out to him, so the guy had plenty of time to get himself set and find the perfect ball in. I want more pressure from him. I want more out of him. But like I said, I've made my opinions of him very clear, and obviously he's not going anywhere anytime soon because for some reason Michael Bradley is just untouchable for whatever reason. To the wings, we've got Johnson on the left, Nagbe on the right. Johnson was one of the players that I thought I didn't want to see tonight, that I really thought wasn't going to play, because he was awful against Venezuela. He really, truly was awful. His touch wasn't good. Defensively, he wasn't good. He just looked lost. He looked like he hadn't played in months, which I don't know if he has or not. But yeah, he just didn't look good at all. And so tonight, coming into it, I was not excited to see him in. And sure enough, he looked pretty bad tonight as well. His just not good enough. There were a couple moments I can pick out in particular that made me think that's terrible. One was it was like a passing move. It started from midfield and we get it down, pass, and then it came to Johnson. It's a bad touch, and now he's trying to have I can't remember if he had a shot or he tried to like cross it in or something terribly, but whatever it was, it comes to him and now we're done. After having a good, I don't know, maybe minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute of possession, as soon as it goes to Johnson, now it's Trinidad's ball. The other one that I can think of is Villafania actually had a good cross in, like one of his few good crosses tonight, right to Johnson. And what does Johnson do? Tries to volley it. You're inside the box. You've got at least 5 yards of space. Chest it. Take a touch. Do something. But no, Johnson tries to volley it and completely whiffs. Gets a little bit of a nick on it so it can go out for a goal kick instead of just going all the way through. But yeah, just take a touch. No, Johnson wants to try to volley it instead. So yeah, he was just all over tonight, pretty bad. And I think Bedoya should probably get the start against Mexico just because I think Johnson's going to hurt us against Mexico. As far as Nagbe goes, though, I've been impressed with him over the past 2 games. I mean, against Venezuela, he didn't look great, but he looked solid. He was one of the few players that I thought played average. There were several players that played bad, only a few that played average, and then a few that played good. He was one of the average ones. He did some good things. He did some really, really good things. And then, he does have a couple mistakes now and then. The only part of his game where those mistakes mostly come from is the passing. I think his passing needs a lot of work. There's a lot of times where that quick 1-2, he can't really find that threaded pass. That little, you got 2 defenders here, and he's got to go here in between them. Most of the time he can't hit that. He's not accurate enough with that through ball. So that's the one part of his game that he needs to improve on. But as far as his work rate, as far as his dribbling, his strength, all of that looks good. And I think he can be a really dangerous player, but I think he's got to improve that little passing side, the short passing side of his game, because if you're going to be one of the wingers, if you're going to be an attacking player, you need to be able to move the ball around well, and he's not really there. So, but I think tonight his work rate was really good. Everything he did on the ball was positive. It was good movement on the ball, and opened up a lot of space. And like I said, also helped out Yedlin as well on the defensive side of the game because he was struggling tonight. Jovan Jones was constantly putting him under pressure, and Nagbe got back a lot. I mean, he just really helped out. He worked back. He wasn't just focused on attacking. He also made sure he dropped in and helped out defensively too. So I think he's a very solid player that we can definitely utilize against Mexico. Christian Pulisic in the middle, obviously our best player. I read an article saying we shouldn't rely too heavily on him. I think that's stupid. He's young, but he's very mature for his age, and he's doing what he does very well. I mean that touch on the ball, the passing, the movement, the work to win it back. He does very well out there, and he shows exactly why he deserves to be out there every single game that I see him in. So yeah, I could go on for several minutes talking about everything he did right tonight, but I mean, if you watch the game, you know exactly what he did right tonight. Just very good passing, very good movement, 2 goals to top it all off. Overall, brilliant game from him. The 2 strikers, though, very, very disappointed in my opinion. Dempsey, though, I think really didn't deserve to start tonight. Against Venezuela on Wednesday, I thought he looked just really terrible. Kind of like Johnson. Just not at all the player that he used to be. Very slow on the ball. His passing wasn't great. He didn't really threaten the defense that often. And tonight was kind of the same thing. His passes. There was one pass that I can think of that led to a really good chance, and it was the first goal. His little chip ball into Nagby. That even then it was more Nagby's hard work that turned it into a good ball. That's about it. Just I don't know. He's not really the same player that I expect him to be. Especially when you've got such an experienced player out there. The age does come into effect because he knows what he should be doing, and yet he's not doing it. He's not doing what needs to be done. He's not making the right runs. He's dropping way too far in the midfield, and now we only have 1 striker up there instead of 2. I don't know. He doesn't look the same player that he used to be, and it's really frustrating because whenever you've got talent up there like Pulisic, you want your strikers to be able to play off of him. Dempsey, it feels like, can't. It's too slow for him. He's just not moving enough. He's not opening up space enough. You need a striker up there who's going to move and open up space for players like Pulisic. And he can't do that. He's not that type of player anymore, and it really showed tonight. So, really disappointed in him. Altidore, also disappointed in him. The pass for the second goal was brilliant. Everything else, though, was pretty terrible. I mean, first half, couple things I can think of. One, cross comes in from Yedlin. It's a little cutback for him. Instead of just off his foot, nice little pass into the goal, he tries to do a back heel and ends up whiffing the ball completely. There's a moment where, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Villafana. It was like he played a ball out to Villafana. Villafana cut it back into him. And instead of passing it into the corner, it's a shot right at the keeper. And he hit the keeper 4 times tonight, I think. The most obvious one, though, I can't remember who passed the ball. I think it may have been Acosta, but it was a through ball to him. Defender got a touch on it, but it actually deflected it up. So now Altidore even has a better chance than he did before. Keeper comes out. All you have to do, one of 2 things. One, lift it over him, which is a difficult technique. That is hard to accomplish, and I'll give him that. That is a very difficult thing to really pull off well, especially with a keeper that big. But the other thing is take a touch, bring it down to the ground, and then let the keeper hit you, or pass it under the keeper as he goes up. What does he do? Mishits it right into the keeper. I mean, it's so bad. Even his header. Like, there was a header in the first half where Cross comes in and he has nearly a free header. What does he do? Right at the keeper. And for some reason the keeper went, I'm not going to move my feet, and touched it up over. But, I mean, you've got a free header at the back post. Put it in the corner. Put it down. No. Straight ahead, right at the keeper. Easy save. And honestly, the one thing that makes it most frustrating is Wood comes on, not even a minute later, his first shot cannons off the post. I'm like, you know what? He hit the post. At least he was going for the post. He was going for the corner. He wasn't putting it right at the keeper. So, yeah, Altidore, his shooting has just got to improve. That's the biggest thing. Obviously, he can pass pretty well. He can move the ball around pretty well. He's got some good movement on him as well. But, God, his shooting as a striker, you need to be able to finish. You should be able to finish. And he can't. He's terrible at it. So, yeah, that's very disappointing from him. As far as the subs go, though, Acosta came on for Dempsey. Did well. His energy is very high, and I think having another defensive mid in there with Bradley helped out a lot as well. But I just think he brings so much more to the table than Bradley does. I think he brings a quickness. I think he moves the ball around better than Bradley does. I wish we could see more of him and less of Bradley. Honestly, I would prefer both of them in, though, just because I think we need two defensive mids, but that's more what I want to see against Mexico, so I'll get to that later. Bedoya comes on for Johnson. I think Bedoya should have started. He came on, didn't really do anything special, but definitely showed a lot more than Johnson did throughout most of the game, just with his movement and what he does on the ball. And on top of that, I think he looks a bit better defensively as well than Johnson does, so I prefer to see him start on Sunday. And then finally, Wood comes on for Altidore, and didn't really create a whole lot after that chance to hit the post. But I think most of that was due to the fact that we were mainly trying to keep possession and trying to keep Trinidad out of the game. But there were some times where we tried to move the ball up the field to him, and it's a bad touch from him. So while I do think his shooting is better than Altidore's, the one thing that he doesn't have over Altidore is the touch. Altidore can take a good touch, find a good pass. I don't know if Wood does that as well as he does. So either have Wood on the field who can finish or have Altidore on the field who can pass. Maybe put both. I don't know. But anyway, that's about it for individual performances. I mean, just overall, it's not bad from the team, but there are a lot of issues individually that I think you can fix with a simple substitution. I think there are players that can replace certain players on the field, and this is where we get into what I hope to see Sunday, but I'm not going to expect it because, like I said, Bruce Arena, probably not going to change anything. But yeah, I think defensively, I don't really want to see any changes just because, you don't want to make a lot of changes to your back line because you want them to play together. You want them to sort of work together, build that team chemistry, and they've already played together 2 games in a row now. Hopefully by the third, they've got each other figured out. They know how to make the right runs. But I think where it starts to change is in the midfield. I want to see a change of formation to a 4-2-3-1. With 2 center defensive mids with kind of 3 more attacking mids and then your striker. Obviously, Bradley is probably going to get the start, so even though I'd rather see somebody else in there besides Bradley, I fully expect to see him because, like I said, for some reason he's untouchable. But having Bradley and Acosta in there I think would probably work pretty well because you'd have Bradley in there who, the captain, I guess, leading the midfield. And then you've got Acosta who moves around pretty well, makes some good plays. He's got a lot of energy. So I think if Acosta's in there as your energetic midfielder and then Bradley's in there as your lazy midfielder, I think it might be able to work out a bit better than obviously just having Bradley in there. As far as the wings go, like I said, Bedoya in over Johnson, and I don't mind seeing Nagbe in. But I'd say put Nagbe on whatever side that Mexico look their strongest, if it's the right or left. Put him on that side because he does very well at tracking back and helping out the defenders. Especially if it's Yedlin's side and there's a lot of one-on-one situations, definitely get him on that side. And then obviously Christian as the attacking mid, almost like a secondary striker, making that the run, the later run from the striker. I think he plays that number 10 role very well. They've been talking about how he sort of wanted to play that role for a long time, and now he's got that role, and he does well. He wants to get on the ball. He comes back and gets on the ball. He really moves the ball around well. So I think that is a great position for him. As far as who to put up top, for me it's between Altidore and Wood. I think Dempsey has played too poorly over these past 2 games to play him again. Obviously, he's looking for the record, and that doesn't matter. He has not looked good on the ball. He's not looked good off the ball. He's not doing enough to warrant starting. And while Altidore can't finish, he does move the ball around really well. While Wood can't really pass or get a good touch on the ball, his finishing is great and he makes a lot of good runs that opens up spaces for other players. So I think either one you put out there is going to have weaknesses, but he's also got a lot of strengths. So it really depends on, I guess, what type of game we're playing. Because if it's going to be a counterattacking game, where Mexico are pressing really high and we try to hit them on the break, I think Wood would be a lot better for that because he's got a bit more speed and, like I said, he can finish. But if it's going to be a bit more of a, I guess, back and forth game where one team attacks and then they get back and then the other team attacks and then they get back and we're actually able to keep some possession, I think Altidore helps not only with his ability in the air to win headers, but also, if we're trying to move the ball around in their box, I think Altidore's better on that than Wood is. So, yeah, I guess based on, I'm kind of watching Mexico right now. Based on what I see from Mexico, it's probably going to be a bit more counterattacking from us. So I'd say go ahead with Wood up top, and then he and Pulisic can combine up there with their speed as well. So, but yeah, going into the game Sunday, obviously a bit more hope for it, just because second half we did look better, but I still think we've got a lot of issues that need ironing out. We've got players that we need to get off the field because they're not performing well enough. But all in all, good performance, good result, gets us back into running for the World Cup. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Sunday. Hope to see better performances and hope to get at least, I'll take a point on Sunday. I will take a point. It is one of those games where if we don't win, it's not the end of the world, but a loss would really hurt. So I'd love to get some revenge though. So that's about it for this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know what you talk about and discuss, all that good stuff. You may not see a review of that Sunday game or the Atlanta United game for a couple days, possibly. I'm actually going to be in Hilton Head for the weekend, so I'm probably not going to be able to get a chance to review either of the games. I'll be staying in a hotel room with a bunch of other people, so chances are probably not going to get one out. But yeah, as soon as I get a chance to get back home, sit down and get the review out, I'll definitely get it out. And like I said, anybody who watches my TV show reviews and for some reason watched through this review up until now, as soon as I get a chance, which will probably be a little while, I'll get back into watching those shows, trying to get caught up because, I obviously want to see them very badly. I don't want to fall behind, and there's so many things that I see on Twitter. I'm just like, I gotta skip it because I don't want to get spoiled. But that's about it for me. So leave a like and subscribe for future USA World Cup reviews. See you guys in the next one.